Hi everyone, it's Mr. Baker here with another physics video. Today we're going to be looking at radio waves. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at radio waves and we're going to be answering this question. When is a radio wave not a radio wave? Mysterious. Okay, so here we have a portion of the electromagnetic spectrum showing radio waves, microwaves, and just coming into the visible spectrum a little bit as well there. So you can see that radio waves have got a long wavelength, so 10 to the power of 2, so 100 plus meters. They're the wavelengths used for radios. And you can see that microwaves have got maybe 1 centimeter wavelengths. There's not much difference between a microwave and a radio wave apart from the length of the wave. Radio waves can be used for transmitting radio signals, but they can be used for lots of other things as well. They've got a very long wavelength. They aren't ionizing, and that makes them very safe. So the broadcast of every radio and television program involves the use of radio waves. Radio waves are the type of electromagnetic waves with the longest wavelengths. Radio waves have a wavelength bigger than 30 centimeters. Radio waves have many uses. How many can you think of? You might want to just pause the video there and see if you can think of any uses. Okay, how many did you get? Let's have a look then. So radio waves can be used for broadcasting. Radio waves are different frequencies are used to broadcast radio and TV. Communications. Several types of radio waves are used for communications, like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Radio control. Radio waves can be used to send signals to control model cars, planes, boats, drones. Radio frequency identification. This identification system involves tagging an object, animal or person with a microchip that responds to a specific radio frequency. It can be used to identify pets and keyless locks on doors. How are radio waves produced? Radio waves are produced by passing an oscillating electric current through a long wire called an aerial. The frequency of the radio wave produced is the same as the frequency of the oscillating current. This allows radio waves of different wavelengths to be produced. These radio waves have slightly different properties and are used for different purposes. Okay, so here we have another great simulation from PhET, and what you can see here is we have got a transmitter here, and these blue things here, or this blue thing here, is an electron. So we've got a transmitter here, and we've got a receiver here, and I'm going to start moving this electron around. So this is what happens in a transmitter. The electrons move up and down, and they create a wave. They create an electromagnetic wave. They actually create, in this case, a radio wave, and then this signal can be detected by the detector, by this antenna, which makes electrons in that wire move around, and that's how a signal gets from one place to another. So a radio wave is created by oscillating electrons inside a metal conductor. Depending on the frequency that they move up and down, that will change the wavelength of the wave that they make. You can see that the signal strength goes down over the distance between the transmitter and the receiver. So for radio signals, we've got to have a really strong transmitter, something that's powerful and can send radio waves a long distance. When the radio wave hits the antenna, it makes the electrons move up and down because of the electromagnetic field, and then that electrical signal can then get changed into sounds or pictures on the other end. Radio signals of different wavelengths are used by radios and TVs. What do you think the advantages of using waves like this rather than cables? Why don't you have a little think about it? Maybe jot some things down and I'll give the answer in a second. Okay, so it's cheaper. So using radio waves is cheaper than laying lots of cables. Electrical signals may also get weak over large distances and interference may be amplified. So when you've got long cables, if there's any distortion to that signal, then you've got to amplify that signal over many, many miles, and then all of those interferences may also get amplified, making the signal more difficult to read at the other end. So how do we get radio waves around the world? So here I've got a transmitter on the left hand side and a receiver on the right hand side. So some radio waves follow the curved path because they refract through different parts of the atmosphere. So over smaller distances that might work. When we want to get radio waves all the way around the Earth though, we have to rely on the effect of reflection. So there's part of the atmosphere called the ionosphere, which is full of ions. Now, radio waves are made up of electromagnetic fields that will reflect off the ionosphere. So some of those frequencies reflect. We can reflect radio waves off the ionosphere so that it can go large distances around the world. So how can we actually make different signals and make radio waves carry different things? So in sound transmission, the initial sound is first picked up by a microphone. The microphone generates an audio signal as an electric current. Meanwhile, an oscillator supplies a carrier wave. Electrical circuits combine the audio signal and carrier wave into a modulated carrier pulse of alternating current. This pulse is amplified and used to rate a carrier radio wave. When the radio waves are absorbed by an aerial, they induce a modulated alternating current. The receiver circuit splits the audio signal from the carrier wave. The audio signal is then supplied to a speaker, which makes sounds. So what you're basically doing is that you are making a radio wave, and you are also making a signal that radio wave can carry. You are superimposing those two waves together, basically. The radio wave carries that, and then you can split the signal from the radio wave, so then you can have the signal that you want to come out the other end. The two main ways to change carrier waves is AM, amplitude modulation, and FM, frequency modulation. You can see the difference in the diagram. AM adds the signal to the amplitude of the carrier wave, but the frequency stays the same. The opposite is true for FM. AM has poorer sound quality, but can travel further. So that's the end of this one. These are the things you should be able to do. You should be able to describe what radio waves are and how they are used. You should be able to apply ideas of properties of waves to describe how they travel around the world. You should be able to evaluate the advantages of using radio waves. And you should be able to describe in detail how carrier waves are used in the transfer of information. So that's been the lesson on radio waves, and we asked at the beginning, when is a radio wave not a radio wave? Well, they're always a radio wave, I suppose, but they can also carry TV signals. So you could, I suppose, call some of them TV waves as well. Okay, so that's been our lesson on radio waves. It's been another physics video from me, Mr. Baker, and I will see you next time. Thanks very much.